Hey there Facebook, it is Vanessa here again, your motivational speaker, trainer and head coach from Live, Love, Give. And today's message is one that is kind of backing on a couple of days ago when I was talking to you guys about some sort of terrifying discoveries that I'd made upon myself through some of my own personal development work. And I'm going to touch on a bit of it today and introduce you guys to some of the things that I've been learning that have really helped me gain some deeper insights into who I am and kind of what's been limiting me. And the main thing that I've been focused on over the last few days is kind of just uncovering these things that I've been lying to myself and convinced myself of. And it's exactly why the title of today's Facebook Live is all about, are you oblivious to the lies that you've been telling yourself? Because that was the rude awakening that I had just a couple of days ago when, you know, you guys, if you've been following along, I got a bit emotional in my live video a couple of days back. And it was because I kind of made this discovery, and it was a really like an aha kind of moment that made me kind of feel totally terrified because I was so oblivious to it. And I thought, like, I didn't know that it was there, and that's what made it so scary. And that's why I wanted to talk to you guys about, you know, when we are oblivious to the lies that we tell ourselves that are keeping us small and limited and away from our empowerment and our greatness. And sometimes we need these sort of different frameworks that help us to kind of bring that to the surface and shine light on what's really going on. And like I said, I think that the most terrifying thing in life is when we are oblivious to the lies that we've been telling ourselves, when we have done such an amazing job at lying to ourselves that we are completely oblivious and we don't know what is going on under the surface. And we go through our life thinking that we are, you know, living in our values, but maybe we're starting to sabotage our success or whatever's going on there. But ultimately, I want to introduce you guys to the 4 archetypes of survival by an amazing woman that I've just really discovered, Caroline Myss. And again, I know the book is back the front, but it's this book that I've been sort of introduced to over the last few days by Caroline Myss called Sacred Contracts. But really what it's all about, what I want to dive into today. I've only touched on like a tiny little piece of this book. A friend of mine studying it at the moment and just, you know, just introduced it to me. And that's why I had that really deep insight a couple of days ago, and why I've been kind of diving in deep to it. And there's a number of these different archetypes that we all kind of use for survival, and they can really alert us to the different issues, fears, and vulnerabilities that ultimately we really need to confront and overcome in our lives. And sometimes they just, like I said, bring this kind of language to those parts of ourselves that we didn't even know existed. And when we can start to recognize and take ownership of our patterns, that's when we gain real empowerment. And that's why I want to introduce to you guys the main 4, which each and every one of us taps into it to some degree, some more than others, but ultimately there's like I think there's like, you know, 70 or more of these different archetypes, and you know, so that it can get pretty in depth. But for the purposes of today's video, I just wanted to introduce you to the 4 that each and every one of us sort of taps into at some stage. And I want to just give a tiny little taste of them. And I've put a link on today's video for any of you guys who want to have a bit more of a read through and really maybe even dive in pretty deep like I'm going to at the moment into these different archetypes and see how we can utilize our understanding and our recognition of the patterns within us based on these sort of archetypes about what's really going on, so that we can stop lying to ourselves and being so oblivious to the lies that we tell ourselves, and ultimately break through from these patterns and ultimately step forth into a new level of our potential and greatness. So the first one that I want to introduce you guys to is the archetype of the child. And this one is broken up, particularly in that link that I sent you guys. There's a number of different types. I think there's like the orphan child, the nature child, the like the Peter Pan one, which I kind of related to, I must admit, which is the eternal child. There's the wounded child. There's a number of different ones, but I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of an overview so you can gain a tiny bit of understanding, and then it might whet your appetite to want to dive in deeper with that link that I sent you. And also if you guys wanted to pick up this massive textbook of a book in terms of going into it a lot deeper. But ultimately, the child archetype represents when we should be taking responsibility versus having dependency. And this one is a really big one in terms of alerting us as to when do we need to take responsibility in our lives? When do we need to create healthy dependency in our lives? When do we maybe even need to stand up to the group and maybe break through with a bit of independence and, grow up a bit? And also alerting us to when we need to kind of, embrace the group, embrace that kind of communal sort of relationship with others as well. So this one, I totally really related to this one, and I know that I've got a lot of work to do around this particular archetype in terms of growing up and being an adult. And there's good and sort of more shadow parts of each of these archetypes. So the child can really alert us to being curious and playful and spontaneous and going with the flow of life and always be learning and having that kind of childlike curiosity, but also kind of can have that shadow aspect where it keeps us kind of small and limited and not taking responsibility for our lives. And ultimately, like I said, each of these 4 archetypes that I want to introduce you guys today, they're all around our survival. So they're kind of what we use unconsciously to protect ourselves. And when we can bring consciousness to it, then we can really break through, because any walls that we put up towards our survival and protection ultimately also simultaneously block us from reaching a new level of our potential. So we have to be aware of these different patterns so that we can break through and come from a place of true empowerment, which always starts with self-awareness. The second archetype that I wanted to introduce you guys to is the victim. And like I said, this one sounds kind of negative, but they all have a level of positivity and how they really enhance our lives and protect us from different things, but also they have that shadow aspect as well. So just bearing that in mind. But the victim archetype really alerts us to when we're letting ourselves be victimized, or also when we are victimizing others. And neither of those are healthy for our own growth towards our limitless potential. But also some people use this archetype, and this might be a wake-up call for a bunch of you guys out there, but we can tend to use this archetype of the victim to gain sympathy and pity. So we're trying to gain positive feedback, but in this kind of negative way, which ultimately stunts our growth and keeps us in that victim mentality. And it also, the victim archetype sort of tells us that you're always being taken advantage of and it's never your fault. And we can get stuck in this such a limiting mentality, I'm a big believer in acknowledging where we are in our lives and acknowledging maybe when we have been victimized in our lives, but not taking that on as an identity that so limits our potential and growth. And if I reflect back on different relationships in my life, and particularly my friendships, I can see the pattern that I played in helping people stay small. I used to I know that one of my growth areas has been from shifting away from telling people what they wanted to hear, which can ultimately keep people victimized and stuck, but it's what they want to hear, right? They're getting that positive feedback, and I've shifted that to telling people what they need to hear. And that has been a huge growth curve of mine. It's been seriously challenging to shift from, and we can all relate to that, I feel, like telling people what they want to hear versus telling them what they need to hear. Telling them what they want to hear can oftentimes keep them victimized and stuck in their lives. But if you really want to have an impact on people's growth and progression, you've got to get over your own fears of disappointing people or being rejected, and you've got to ultimately be able to tell them what they need to hear versus what they want to hear. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. I could go on and on and on, like you guys know. So I want to shift on. That's the first two, the child and the victim. Then the third of the four that I want to introduce you to, the archetypes of survival that each and every one of us taps into. There's no getting away from it. But ultimately, when we can recognize these patterns in our own life, we can break through. The third one is the saboteur. And this one is really all about alerting us to and identifying where in our lives we end up undermining ourselves. We get in our own way, and this ultimately stems from having low self-esteem that blocks our empowerment and our success. We are in this, when we enter this saboteur archetype, we are ultimately, like I said, undermining our greatness and sabotaging our own empowerment and our success for moving forward when we stay limited and stuck. And like I said, guys, for anybody joining me now, like I've got that link there for anybody who wants to go deeper on that. Just a quick link to Caroline Miss's website, and also I've got the book here, The Sacred Contracts. I know it's back the front, it's annoying, but really in-depth book for anybody who likes to go really deep on this kind of stuff. But I think what I'm introducing you guys to today with just the four is going to be highly valuable, particularly if you've never come across this stuff at this stage. So the last of the four archetypes that I want to introduce you guys to, which is, this one was a really rude awakening for me, is the prostitute. Now, don't get too shaken up by that word, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you are like the term that we would use in terms of prostitute, selling sex. That's not what I'm referring to here. It's the archetype. And we need to get beyond that kind of concept to be able to really understand this archetype. But really, this one is all about alerting us to when we are compromising the body, mind, or spirit, and we are selling out our integrity for survival, or what we perceive to be survival, fitting in, or, that survival in terms of a lot of people in this archetype, they stay in relationship because of finances, so they're selling out. They know it's not good for them, but because they don't want to be without money or finance or whatever, they can stay stuck in this archetype and stay in relationships that just do not serve them. Abusive relationships also at times, but also just anywhere in your life, this archetype can really alert you to where you are selling out your power in any way. You're not being authentic. You're not operating from a place of integrity. You're selling yourself out, your mind, your body, your spirit out in some way. And this one can really be a rude awakening, like it was to me the other day, when I realized that I had, for a long period, pretty much all of my life, like kind of not known who I was and not being operating from a true place of authenticity, because I was keeping myself oblivious to who that was, and I was selling myself out. And when we are living from that place, nothing feels fulfilling. And being able to put language to this and these patterns and be able to see how it played out in our lives gives us power, but it can often be terrifying, confronting each and every one of these archetypes in our lives. So the child, the victim, the saboteur, and the prostitute. So guys, I'm hoping that this really whet your appetite in terms of maybe diving a little bit deeper into these different archetypes. And like I said at the beginning, there's like 70 or more of these archetypes. I've just introduced you to the main 4, which each and every one of us tap into in our lives in some sort of form or the other. And when we can use the power of these kind of frameworks to get a better, deeper level of understanding as to our own patterns and what's been played out in our lives, we can identify what lies we've been oblivious to, that we've been telling ourselves, and we can ultimately break through from the disempowering, more shadow aspects of each of these archetypes and be free of them. So I'm really hoping that today's message has been a valuable one for you guys, kind of a different angle, but one that's kind of really key for me at the moment in my learnings. And so I'm hoping that it's been interesting to you, you've gained some insights, and that you want to go deeper. And for any of you guys out there who haven't already, I would love for you guys to definitely come on over and join us in the Limitless Potential Inner Circle Facebook community, where we're supporting, encouraging, and challenging each other to get past our limitations and ultimately access ever increasing levels of our limitless potential. So I'd love to have you in there. I've got the link up above as well. And I want to check in with you guys and see who's been able to join me. I've got Stephen and Selma and Kelly and Kushal, thank you for being here. And Paul's here, awesome to see you. And Sabri and Hassani and Jeremy's here, I love it. And Sabri and Jens and Angel and Eric's back, I love it. And Befera and Thomas, awesome Aussie, what's up, you amazing person. I always love your calling me an Aussie. I love it. I forget it sometimes being over here in the States. So always love having you here, Thomas and Befera. And thank you for your kind words there, Sabri. And Wade's here, and Troy and Jared's back. I love it. And Bobby and Michael and Masha and Hikmet and Jason's here. I love it. And Jens, thank you so much for your support and encouragement. I so appreciate it. And Elliot's here. I love it. And Mercedes and from Spain. Awesome. I love Spain. And Matt's here, and Siki and Chris. Hey V, couldn't wait to see you today. I always love you joining me, Chris. I absolutely love seeing you and all of you amazing people who join me each and every day. It's just lights me up and touches my heart. So thanks so much, Chris. And Paula's here from Brazil. I love it. And Bassam and Heidi and Peter and Helen and Dennis and Lena and David and Mahindapal and Chris. We were just saying how we can learn from children. Absolutely. I think that, part of what I really identify is keeping that kind of childlike curiosity and playfulness. It's what gives me so much energy. So there are definitely, the positive and the shadow aspects of each of these archetypes, but so much to learn. And I think that's really key to keep a level of you that is playful and childlike, and it makes life exciting. So I love that you're just talking about that, Chris. That's awesome. And good morning to you, Mahindapal, and Adele's here, and Hader and Mercedes. Be positive always. It's the best thing that we can do. Definitely, we don't need, if negativity can often keep us small and stuck and limited, I love a bit of positivity, but I also love just owning reality as well so that you can move forth. And, a part of why I wanted to bring this message to you guys today is me recognizing how much I put rose-colored glasses on everything and everyone. And I think it's a beautiful quality to have. But I've just made some realizations that it has actually kept me limited. So that's where positivity, we need to be also realistic and own exactly how things are from a place of strength and courage, and also then have positive expectancy about moving forward in your life as well. So I love you sharing here, Mercedes. Thank you so much. And I've got Mark here and Jackie. Shifting to what needs to here means we have had our own healing or not needing others' approval. Yeah, definitely. And, yeah, you've got to go on that journey of owning your own validation and approval and being open to others. You know, that's kind of the gift that others can give us, is that support and encouragement and building up when we've kind of dropped the ball a little bit, but ultimately definitely going on that journey so you're not in need and dependency on the approval of others. Absolutely, Jackie, appreciate you being here. Shay's here. Eric, oh, you're so welcome, Eric. I always appreciate you showing up. And Vince is here. Awesome. And Brian, I love seeing you. Can't count how many times I've undermined myself. Appreciate this information. Any thoughts on not only fear of failure, but fear of success? Awesome. I always love you showing up, Brian, and your questions. And I love that you've just kind of recognized yourself maybe a little bit there in the saboteur. So I definitely encourage you to check out that link I sent you, and even this book if you want to go really deep. It's kind of a bit of a textbook on this subject, which I'm just kind of only just scraping the surface of, but I'm going to dive in deep. But yeah, in terms of fear of failure, fear of success. So I did back in March, I actually interviewed Dr. John Demartini, a fascinating man. If you don't know his work, I'm just telling you, go out there and search Dr. John Demartini. He's phenomenal. And I actually asked him at the time about fear of success, and he actually has a really interesting idea around fear of success. He actually believes that fear of success doesn't even exist, and he says the reason why he says that is he says that you are actually in fear of what comes with success. So it's not the success that you're afraid of, it's whether you feel you can handle what comes with the success. So it's just this different way of looking at it. So I really believe that all fear comes and stems from kind of the same thing. So whether we feel we can handle it, you know, and I'm always referring to Susan Jeffers' amazing book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I know I'm giving you guys a lot of different angles today and different things to dive into, so I hope I'm not overwhelming you. But definitely all fear stems from whether or not we believe that we can handle it. So when we can focus, instead of getting caught up in all the different levels of fear, because they're all there, they're recognizing that they all stem from our ability, our belief in our ability to handle it and figure things out. So I would say that, you know, we fear failure because we fear whether we can handle, you know, what responses we maybe get in our external environment, or we fear we can't handle how we'll treat ourselves or how we'll play small after we fail once or twice. And also fear of success, it's the same thing. Do you feel like you can handle all that comes as a responsibility of that success that you say you want to create and experience? So I hope that me just talking into that a little bit there for you, Brian, was helpful. Let me know if I can, clear anything up or dive in deeper into anything for you there. Hope that was helpful, and I so appreciate you, Brian. And Ashok's here, and Daniel, and Leanne, and yes, Eric, I'm loving that you're totally appreciating that, I guess, or proving, I'm not sure. But I love you being here, and Michael's here, and Tahir, and Govinda, and Andy, and Hassani. I'm definitely going to check this out. I can see how all of those have played out in my life at one time or another. Thank you for sharing this book, V. Oh, you're so welcome. And yes, I can't wait to hear your insights, Haas. Definitely let us know in the Limitless Potential Inner Circle Facebook community, where you are just such an inspiration. Love to hear your thoughts, absolutely, and your experience with that. And it is, get ready to get real. That's all I can say. It's the experience I'm having. And Misty's here, and hello to you, Tahir, and Gerardo, and Leanne, and Peter, and Jens. What is Aussie? I'm an Australian, so Aussie is like a short abbreviation for an Australian. Go Aussies. I love it. And Fernando from Peru. I love it. And Jens, there will be more in a couple of days. I'll recommend you in Belgium. Oh, thank you so much, Jens. I so appreciate you sharing my content, and particularly Belgium is somewhere where I really want to get to, planning on hopefully getting there next year. I want to do some of Europe again. And Rashed's here, and Chris, along the path to adulthood, we need to retain that gift. Absolutely, yes. Keep those childlike, amazing qualities as we take them into adulthood. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely, Chris. And Dustin's here, and Mario, hello to you, and Abina, and Rashed's from the Netherlands, beautiful. And Mario, looking forward to our session tomorrow. Me too, can't wait to connect with you. It'll be awesome. And Gazzy's here, and Antonia, hello to you. Antonio, hello to you. And Dustin, don't be afraid of change. That's why fear comes into play. Move past the fear. Absolutely. I love, one of my absolute favorite quotes from Tony Robbins is that the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty you can comfortably live with. And so many of us keep ourselves limited and small because we have that fear of change, like you're talking into there, Dustin. So you've got to start valuing uncertainty over certainty so that you can break through any fear that comes your way and back yourself. Absolutely, Dustin, appreciate you. And Kyrie, you're so welcome. Thank you for being here. And Eric, I always appreciate your words of encouragement. I need that. Thank you, Vanessa. I'm grateful. # gratitude. Thanks life. Okay, I love that, Eric. Thank you so much for being here, and you are always so welcome. I'm so grateful that these words are encouraging to you, and yeah, I'm grateful to have you here. Thanks for being here. And Mahindapal, yes, hello. And Jayathika, after such a long time, yes, where have you been, Jayathika? I've missed you. It's great to have you back. And Kyrie is from London. Awesome. And Anna and Robert and Paul and Joel. Awesome to have you guys. And Rian's here. And Tumas is back. I love it. And Nick. Awesome, guys. And Aaron. Awesome, guys. Awesome. I love having each and every one of you guys here. I really hope that today's message in terms of talking into the 4 archetypes of survival has been kind of enlightening for you, or it's kind of, like I said, whet your appetite. You want to dive in deeper, you can click on that link, and I've just put a link to a website page that talks a little bit more into those. And like I said, I've got Caroline Mrs. book, Sacred Contracts. I know it's back the front and annoying, but yeah, really for all of those who want to dive in deep, and if you really want to have some rude awakenings and ahas and really face your fears, particularly the lies that you've been telling yourself that you're completely oblivious to me, that absolutely terrifies me to know that there's all these lies that I've been telling myself that I'm totally oblivious to. And that's why when we can bring a framework and language to these different patterns that are playing out, there is so much value to be had. And I know each and every one of you guys who are listening to a video like this, you value your personal growth, progression, and you want to get to the next level of your limitless potential. So this is just one of those pathways to do it. Hope it's been valuable, and much love and blessings to you, Mahindapal. And on that note, I am sending you guys all of my love, light, blessings, gratitude, energy, enthusiasm, everything extraordinary coming to you, to wherever you are in the world today. I appreciate each and every one of you guys so much. Like I say every day, you light up my world, you rock my world, and I so appreciate getting to connect with you guys. And I cannot wait to see you guys tomorrow. So I'm sending you all of my love, and I will see you then.